Hi everyone, my name is Alina Starry-eyed, and today I want you to share my personal story about how 6 tiny little rats completely changed my life and why I decided to become a rat mom, but I prefer saying a rat queen. I loved animals my entire life. In my parents' house, we've always had pets. I had fish, I had a dog, Beagle, and pets have been pets have always been a huge part of my life, of who I am. But then I moved out, became independent. I started living in my own, and since I live in a cozy room rather than in a big apartment, was so not so really easy for me to make a decision what or who I want to adopt. For about 3 years, I was constantly thinking of taking a cat, but there was a catch: I'm allergic. Back in February, a turning point happened. Someone abandoned a tiny kitten in the building, and it was too freezing cold outside, and like minus 20 degrees, and this poor little cat was crying in the hallway. Without a second thought, I decided to take him in, but unfortunately my allergies hit me hard immediately, and my face swelled up so badly, and that medication didn't even help, and I couldn't fall asleep when the cat was near me in my room, in my bed, and I literally couldn't breathe. And it was quite heartbreaking, but the kitten had to stay in the hallway right outside my room, and I was lucky to find him new home, because one of my neighbors fell in love with him and took him in, and now I know where the kitten lives. It lives in the same place where I do, just in the other room, so he's okay. But that whole situation made me really sad, but it also made me realize one thing, that I couldn't give up. I knew I needed a pet in my life, and I started to look for a pet quite actively. And suddenly the idea of getting pets popped into my head. I had a friend who owned rats. I thought to myself, hey, maybe rats are exactly what I need right now. My real impression was pretty complete. I thought that maybe rats were a very non-standard, eccentric choice for a pet. Ты мой сладкий такой, сладкий, Оля. Олечка, ты мой сладенький такой, ты мой такой сладенький. Прыгун. He's a jumper. And every time I thought about rats, I used to think they were like stick insects, little bugs that live their own life in just a tank, and they don't need anyone, and you don't attach to them. I thought you couldn't have any emotional bond with a rat. I figured you just clean their cage from time to time, but you don't get too close to them. I thought they were completely distant from people. I thought they are definitely not like cats or dogs. My friend used to talk about her rats with such enthusiasm, with such a passion, but I felt like it was an interesting idea to get one, but my spark inside wasn't too big to go and just get one. So I just listened to my friend and thought that maybe rats are not for me. Maybe I'm a dog person. But after that situation with the kitten, I realized how much I loved having an animal in my home. I love it when someone meets me when I come back home. So I thought to myself, alright, maybe rats are worth a try. But in my head I still had this feeling They were just like cats in a cage. Like these independent creatures that live their own life and they don't really need us. And to be absolutely brutal with you, I had another thought back then. I thought, well, even if I don't like it, they live just about 2 years. And so if it turns I'm not a red person, it's not a huge lifelong commitment, and I won't really lose anything, just like experience. That was my genuine perception. I truly believe that we as humans, we completely uninteresting and unnecessary to rats. I had absolutely no idea. How wrong was I at that moment? At first I had no idea to have boys or girls. It's a pet I could bond with. So boys were the right choice for me at that moment. There was another reason for choosing males. With females, you either have to spay them, which is a huge extra expense for a beginner budget, not to mention a serious medical procedure, because unspayed females are highly prone to tumors. Since I was a completely newbie and a person, I decided to start with boys. My ultimate goal was to have a pack of 4 rats. 4 seems like a perfect number for me. But as a beginner, I and a person with severe allergies, I decided to start with just 2. I wanted to taste my body first, and I knew exactly what I wanted. I wanted my first rat to look like a gray and white Dumbo rat with this perfect little little white blaze marking on his face. For the second one, I was torn between an albino and Siamese, and in the end I chose a Siamese because they they dark markings on his face and near the tail. It looked so unique and fascinating that I decided to get this one exactly. And there was one strict thing for me. I wanted him to get a dark eyes and a good eyesight. I found out there were 2 Siamese brothers ready to go home. I actually wanted to get a rat from a special breeder, a girl who is much more experienced rat breeder. Actually, her name was Elena, like mine. I even went to her place first, just to see what a proper clean litter should look like. For a comparison, I wanted to check if there was any bad smell or dirt, because deep down I had a feeling that the next place I visited might be just not so clean and pretty smelly. And I wanted to prepare myself in order not to be shocked, in order not to be frightened, and not to give up, because some people have different people have different standards of cleanliness. Alina's place was amazing, but unfortunately I couldn't get a rat from her because she didn't have Siamese boys. At that moment she had only girls Siamese standard, and she had boys Siamese, but they were Rex. And even if I had a thought of getting a Rex rat, I felt that I wanna have standard Siamese with standard. So I went on Avito. This is our, online marketplace in Russia, and people sell things secondhand and also animals. Found a listing that said beautiful Siamese boys for sale. We texted and I wanted to meet them. I already reserved one. When I stepped into the apartment, the smell hit me like a wall. Just a terrible, overwhelming smell. Stench. They were just breeding rats like a factory for quick money, completely neglecting the conditions. That's how I rescued my sweet Jack. Since I had absolutely zero experience with rats, firstly, I originally planned to leave the Jack inside his transport cage for the first 24 hours. It was just a plastic container with a few holes and on top. Looking back, it's a miracle I had a guardian angel that night. My neighbor, who used to own mice and rats in her childhood when she was a kid, stopped by my room to take one look at the container. She said, "No way, you cannot leave him in there. There is almost no fresh air. He can't be there for the whole night and the whole day. We need to fix it right now." And we created proper ventilation. But the episode happened. My friend, the one that rescued my Jack, had a drink, and so she smelled like a bit of alcohol. Since I was still terrified of rats, remember, Jack was my very first rat, I used to be afraid of them, and now I had something like them at home, and I still was afraid of him. I never held them. She was the one who picked him out of the container, and well, Jack absolutely hated the smell, and he instantly bolted, launched himself off her, and landed straight on me. But I panicked, jumped back, and poor Jack fell off my shoulder and vanished under my kitchen corner. It was his very first escape, and spoiler alert, it was definitely not his last. Even back then, as a tiny baby, he was already shown his independent, determined, and proud Siamese personality. He was the one making the rules. First night, my other neighbor helped me catch him. He helped me move the kitchen cabinets. We simply caught the little fugitive in just an hour. But his later escapes, some of them lasted for up to 5 days, which was an absolutely mind-blowing stress for me. Next in line was Jerry, and yes, I already knew that it would be his name. In fact, he was already reserved and paid by the time I picked Jack. Firstly, I get Jack, bring him home, and leave him alone for just 24 hours to get some rest. Then we are waiting for the cage, and when cage arrives, I get Jerry and I put them into a brand new cage. Since the cage arrived a little bit early, I texted to the breeder of Jerry and said that I was ready to get him, and we made a meeting, and I came to Pavlovsk. Jerry lived in somewhere between, it was a region near St. Petersburg, Pushkin and Pavlovsk, and I came to Pavlovsk and just walked by a few minutes, and I came to Pushkin, and there was Jerry. And the breeder's house was opposite the first one where Jack was born. It was incredibly clean, cozy, and honestly luxurious. And there was the exact great Dumbo rat with a perfect white blaze marking on his face. And I had always dreamed of having this white-gray rat.
Вот Джерри. Заволновался что-то. Приехал в коробке дырявой. Не волнуйся, все, с вечером переместим в клетку. Все.
Jerry. But the moment we got home, I noticed a problem. Jerry had, this strange little spots in his eye, and then I just didn't know what was that. Back then, I didn't know what porphyrin is, and I only knew that it was not okay. Week, I watched him closely, and after a few days, about a week, I decided to go to rheumatologist, and I found online doctor. It was quickly, it was cheaper, and it had no stress for a little rat. It was very, very good, and we treated the swelling and completely cured the infection. But in the end, it turned out to be a strange minor structural defect. Jerry is a bit lazy, as I can see, and doesn't always wash his face completely, and that's totally fine. I just gently clean his eye with saline solution on a regular basis. He's doing amazing. So Jack and Jerry living together, navigating their friendships.
А Джек сидит грустный, спрятался. Не грусти.
немножко еще такой. One day, my mom and I were looking through the old pictures from Jerry's breeder, and we saw a black little rat. It was Jerry's brother, and he was pitch black. He looked like a piece of coal. Black nose, black ears, black everything, totally dark. And my mom looked at him and said, "Wow, he looks like a little mink." And suddenly, it was like a huge wish sparked in my heart. And I thought, man, I really want to have a black rat. An ad popped up. Started scrolling the pictures of little rats, and my heart instantly skipped a bit. And there he was. I messaged the owner. I immediately knew his name would be Pierre. Pierre just because he was born on 23rd April, and I know that this day is famously known as William Shakespeare's birthday and memory day. And since he was completely black, he had, black, he had, that melancholic, dark vibe around him, and I knew that it would be great to call him Pierre. He looked melancholic, just like Shakespeare's sonnets, just like his dark poetry and his dark art. And the deeper I dug into his name, the more perfect it felt. I found out that in Persian culture and Islamic traditions, the word Pir meant a wise old man, a spiritual guide. And considering that he's a pitch black but has this adorable little gray bear on his chin, it felt like it matched him flawlessly. Even today, Pierre remains like a mystery middle child. I don't know. Honestly, he's the most mysterious and enigmatic. I felt a bit guilty because he probably received the least amount of my emotional attention first. Before him, I was constantly hyper-focused on Jack and Jerry, dealing with Jack's escapes and Jerry's side treatments. It was all a brand new, overwhelming experience for me, and literally just 1 week after Pierre arrived, I got even more new babies. So poor little Pierre kind of got lost in all that chaos. Definitely not for long. The way I got Oliver and Barney was symbolic, but at the same time a little bit tragic. At the end of May, a horrible emergency happened in Pavlovsk, the exact town where Jerry was born. And I picked him up out of there. And the news spread like a wildfire through animal rescue funds and the entire rat community in St. Petersburg. Someone had abandoned a box of rats in a park near the train station, and it was a brutal case of animal cruelty. One rat, unfortunately, was already dead. He was very abused. He had a pencil stuck in his ass. Other rats were very injured, and one of them died a bit later because he had so many injuries and there were burns. Some rats were not only burned but, for example, left without paws and so on. I was following the story every single day, and we were writing official appeals to the police, the prosecutor's office, and government deputies. We demanded justice and maximum publicity, because the person who could do that, the person who could do something so much terrible is a danger to humans as well. As I was watching the updates, I read that another rat, one of those, had died, and he was a Burmese by coat color. And when I saw it, I saw that a beautiful Burmese boy had lost his life in such a cruel way, and something clicked inside me, and I felt this overwhelming desire to honor him by bringing a Burmese boy into my home to give him the best, safest life possible. And that's when I started my search. And suddenly an ad on Avito caught my eye. A little born on April 26th, just 3 days younger than Pierre was born. I looked at the photo and I immediately fell in love with Oliver. He was a beautiful hooded boy. As I was still learning about rat genetics, I decided to consult AL assistant. Guess what? The AL mistakenly told me that Oliver wasn't a Burmese rat. Then I saw a photo of his brother, and it was Barney, and I showed it to AL, and he said, yes, it is, he is Burmese. And so I thought, all right, if I want to honor the Strady Powell story, I'm going to rescue Barney. But I love Oliver so much, I like him, and my heart won't let him leave behind, and I'm taking both brothers. The owner's rats had an accidental, unwanted second pregnancy. So she was basically giving the babies away for just pennies, just to make sure they have a warm and loving home, not as reptile food. They were located in Kronstadt, which happens to be my absolutely lovely city, my absolute favorite city near St. Petersburg. And I haven't been there in ages, and because it's quite far from St. Petersburg, and I just don't like going there on bus and so.
Мальчики домой приехали.
Jack, Jerry, Pierre accepted Bunny, but they were not so friendly to Oliver. They just rejected him. Dynamic. It was a brutal dynamic. Oliver has a strong dominant personality, just like a Siamese. But while his brother Bunny started rapidly gaining weight and could easily defend himself against the big boys, Oliver stopped growing. He was physically trapped and alone, and he would isolate himself in a distant hammock or freeze in a corner where no one could touch him. Just staring into space and grinding his teeth, bruising intensely out of stress. I felt like something was horribly wrong. And when I looked at him, I had this bizarre, haunting feeling. This is not Oliver. This is not the rat from the photos that stole my heart. Did I pick the wrong baby by mistake? And then he bit me. He bit me so severely that my fingers swelled up completely, and I had to rush to the emergency room. I was in pain, confused, and deeply frustrated. I realized that older boys were bullying him. He was likely getting sick. You know, at first I was so overwhelmed with this episode that I texted to the breeder. I told her that I wanted to return the baby because he was acting strange. He bit me, and he didn't. We even agreed that she would come on June 18th to take him back. You know, I had an epiphany. I looked at this tiny broken baby and realized that no way, I'm not giving him back under any circumstances. Yes, my finger was throbbing, and yes, my heart was aching, but a sudden realization hit me. If he beat me so hard, it wasn't because he was mean. It was because he was in desperate, agonizing pain. And I needed to quarantine him. Coincidentally, an old dirty ferret cage had been abandoned in my building. It was just there for months. And I grabbed it, scrubbed it clean, and put Oliver inside. Looking closely at him, I realized he had a severe disease. He had a severe eye infection. It looked like blepharitis. That was exactly why he didn't look like his beautiful picture. I immediately started treating his eyes, just like I did with Jerry. And literally 3 days later, it looked like a miracle. It happened. He got better. Oliver completely transformed. You know, he became this incredibly sweet, gentle soul who loves to lick my hands and give me little ratty kisses. Even something my other rats didn't do. He was finally the exact baby who stole my heart in those pictures in the listing. My mom said he was probably the runt of the litter, the smallest and the weakest boy in the pack. He was starving and sick, which was why the pack targeted him. But in his lonely cage, he ate like a king, his eyes fully healed, and the idea of giving him away was cancelled forever. I just texted the breeder, I'm keeping him, and period. Instead of buying him a tiny friend, I made a bold choice. I bought a massive palace-like cage built for 6 rats and decided to introduce the pack to Oliver on his own territory. First, I moved his blood brother Barney back in, because they remembered each other's sin, and then Pierre spontaneously joined them. The 3 of them lived in perfect harmony. Oliver grew strong enough to stand up for himself. The bullying stopped, and they become inseparable. They became inseparable. Inseparable. He started gaining weight rapidly, and today he weighs 150 grams, just 20 grams less than his brother Barney. Even though the three boys were living peacefully, my mind just couldn't let it go. I wanted to have an even number of rats, 6 rats. You know, I wanted every single boy have their own. I was planning to look for a 6th rat in August, but suddenly I thought, why wait? Let's do it right now. I realized I had already collected all that I wanted: Siamese, Burmese, black rats, husky, gray blaze. I was still missing a pure white, pink-eyed albino, and I also secretly dreamed of curly rat. And out of nowhere on Avita, again, a white Rex little rat baby. When I went to pick him up, I discovered another crazy coincidence. The rescuer's name was Alina, just like mine, yes, the third Alina in my rat journey, and she runs a wonderful private foster rehab for rats. She takes in beautiful rats that were meant to be reptile foods, rehabs them, and finds them live. She told me his mom, the mom of my curly little thing, August. August's mom was hairless. She was Sphinx, and his father was unknown because she already came to her being pregnant, and nobody knew who his dad was. And you know, I picked my baby when he was just 4.5 weeks old. He was a true miracle. He's a Rex, so he has these incredibly cute curly whiskers and slightly wavy, fluffy fur, and those bright ruby eyes. You know, he looks like a tiny magical creature. And because Alina has a child who gently cuddles the babies every day, my boy, whom I named August, turned out to be completely hand-tame, fearless, and incredibly affectionate. Just like Oliver, he's a total kisser. He loves sitting on my hands and licking my fingers. Right now he weighs only 52 grams, and it's not so much. And he's literally as light as a feather. And as of today, I have 6 beautiful rats. And I'm definitely not planning to expand the pack while living in this cozy little room. And having 5 or 6 rats taught me how hard it is to give every single one of them and the high quality individual attention they deserve. But I'm incredibly happy to have them. Looking back, I clearly remember being 100% sure that I would never get attached to them. I expected rats to be distant, independent pets. They completely rewrote my world. They turned out to be the most wonderful, mind-blowing, and intelligent creatures with deep, complex emotions. In my shorts, you can see how they greet me as I come back home. And you know, they are just like loyal dogs. You know, even if they're full and there is plenty of food in the cage, they climb the bars, begging to be held, or gently pulling my hair when I stand close. They combine the cozy, lazy, aesthetic vibes of cats, and they have soulful, fiercely loyal hearts and high intelligence, just like dogs. Realize that a creature with such a beautiful, grand soul only lives for about 2 years. It hurts. It hurts deeply because they become true, irreplaceable friends. And I remember my old pet fish never touched my heart like this, because they just live their own life, and I thought rats would be the same, but I was so wrong. I realized how much it would break my heart to lose them during our very first month together. When I only had Jack and Jerry, I already knew that it would be a tragedy for me to lose him when 2 years passed by. That fear pushed me to start studying everything about their health, their diet, and how to prevent illness. Even though I've been a rat mom for just 3 months, I have deep dived into rat care, gathered tons of scientific data, and already put it into practice. And in my next video vlogs, I'm going to share all the priceless experience with you and show you exactly how to make your rats' lives absolutely luxurious. Thank you so much for watching this story. Don't forget to subscribe Starry-Eyed Rat Kingdom channel, and tell me in the comments what was your first impressions of pet rats, and sleep tight and see you in the kingdom. So bye.